versus CycloneGG, a roster out of CycloneGG that hasn't really changed from last split to this one, considering the fact that they faltered a little bit, they struggled a little bit, but more importantly, they stuck together. But now they're against a very formidable team, Team Dignitas, formerly known as Variety's new team, very strong, solid roster.
Exactly. CycloneGG, like you said, they didn't go through too many changes, and I actually think that's a positive. I think that this team is going to grow in the right direction for the rest of Season 4, but unfortunately, like you said, the speed bump or perhaps just mountain in the way of Team Dignitas recently acquired Variety's new team, the squad known as VNT, throughout the relegation process. You're looking at Variety from last year, who was one of the better players at the World Championships, and one of the better gods in SMITE is actually going to get through the P's and B's. We're going to see Thoth first pick.
Thoth is a very strong mid-mage at this point in time, has a lot of mobility with using the wall into the dash, increasing the range, as well as providing a lot of damage. If you can find a way to set up your multi-stun, as a result, you can get a lot of easy kills there. So a nice idea from CycloneGG, which could be a flex pick, is this Cabrakan. Could go to Deathwalker, could also go to Ice Baby, but with that Ratatasker pick, should go in the jungle.
Yeah, I think we're going to see Deathwalker on the more tanky Guardian, Cabrakan right there. Aphrodite ban. Now, Aphrodite is a character that people have been talking about. Maybe she's come back a little bit. Do you think the Aphrodite ban was worth the Thoth?
I think not necessarily, but a lot of players have been experimenting in scrims to the point where they're running Aphrodite in the duo lane, making it very annoying for the Hunter and Guardian to really deal with that early push pressure.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people have been talking about, has been the pressure of the dual lane. If you're able to pressure the opponent out at level 1, you're able to rotate into the jungle and do some interesting things there that help you level along the way and really increase your game. So throwing it back to the shadow queue of yesteryear, your old support player bringing out the Aphrodite might be an option. First round of picks are done though, Toli. Thoth, Fafnir, and Ram on the left side, and CycloneGG are going to be bringing Cabrakan, Ratatasker, and Poseidon. How you feeling so far?
Team Dignitas are demonstrating a lot of synergy with their picks, because if you think about it, Thoth will throw up the wall, which will increase the damage of the projectiles between Rama, as well as Fafnir increasing the attack speed of the Rama. So we can see a lot of early objective clears of the Gold Fury coming out of Team Dignitas, where if you look at CycloneGG, they're trying to find ways to shut down this Thoth, which is why they had the Cabrakan for the walls, trying to limit his mobility. He can't dash backwards if he's going to have to dash forward.
And the Poseidon also going to do wonders against not just the Thoth, but the Ram, who have pretty similar roles, not jobs in the game, but actual movement roles. The Cripple's going to help that out and stop those players in their tracks, even Fafnir from really initiating if that's what he wants to do. CycloneGG going to go ahead and select what could be their hunter, what should be their hunter, Ullr.
Which is surprising, because coming out of Vote, he's been playing mostly Ram and Izanami during the relegation. So picking up this Ullr after we see Arkel taking the Ram is going to be interesting to see how he's adapted to this more aggressive early game pressure coming out of Ullr. As long as he builds the Transcendence, he should have the lane pressure here.
Team Dignitas go ahead and they select Nemesis and Tyr, two characters that are highly dependent on their movement abilities into a cripple like Poseidon. If I'm CycloneGG, I want to think Sobek's a good choice here. But if I'm CycloneGG, I'm very happy about my selection right now. Team Dignitas, are they showing disrespect, or do they just simply overlook the fact that there's a cripple in the middle lane?
It's not necessarily always about the defense. There's a lot of offensive tools here for Team Dignitas as well. They're thinking about ways to really burst down Guardian out of the Cabrakan. Nemesis ulti with the top damage to follow up could easily take him out of the battleground quickly. That's
going to be a look that Team Dignitas is certainly going to be searching for. CycloneGG on the other side, like you said, Death over there in the solo lane on the Cabrakan. He's one of the players that I'm looking at most for Season 4 for CycloneGG. In Season number 3, the solo laner for Cyclone wasn't really that strong. Some games he kind of looked like a liability. In relegations, though, he already looked like he stepped up his game, most notably on these Guardians like Cabrakan.
Before, he used to play a lot of Warriors in the solo lane back in Season 3, and he would build them very offensively with the Executioner, the Soul Eater as well on Bologna specifically. But now that he's playing the Cabrakan, he's going to have to figure out a way to really balance this out, because there's too many offensive things that Team Dignitas is going to be throwing at Cyclone that Deathwalker is going to have to adapt for. So we're curious to see what his build is going to be as we head into the game.
Tyr will be the choice for Variety on Team Dignitas. As we said, this is Variety's new squad. He left Obey to form a team of his own with some powerhouse players, and Tyr is going to be a really good look for Team Dignitas. This is one of Variety's specialty choices.
Well, after Worlds, there's no more such thing as a choice for variety. Before, back in the day, it used to be only Ymir and Tyr, but now, after watching him at Worlds, the way he's been playing the Camazots and just Ratatasker as well, which is why CycloneGG picked it up so early in their draft, is making him such an elite solo player, and that's kind of why Variety elected to stray away from the second place team in 2016.
For sure. Yeah, no, I think Variety was a big part of that team, and thinking that he could go out on his own and form a new team with the likes of Zeros in the mid lane and some other names that we're going to get into in just a moment. I think that this is actually a really good look for Variety's new team with Team Dignitas. Team Dignitas versus CycloneGG. Let's get right into it.
It's going to be a very aggressive lineup here. And when you speak of aggression, Fred and Trixtank are always known to be so aggressive. Variety also likes to go relatively deep in the backline. So these God picks are also suiting their style and their game plan, what they want to do.
Zero's also not exactly the most passive player on the planet, and I think that's going to be a big part of what to expect out of Team Dignitas' performance, not just today, but throughout the course of the season, and certainly something that should befit them with the season for meta. Kalis wrapping around or thinking twice about it here in the duo lane. We were talking about the duo lane pressure, Tolly. Why don't you break down how important it is for these teams to outpush each other?
If you're the first duo lane to be able to outclear the other, then you have a lot of opportunities towards maybe finding an invade onto the purple or the red buff, or not even necessarily grabbing the buff, but if you grab those 4 little minions attached to the purple and the red, that'll give you level 2 as well, and then you can go back into the laning phase and keep on continuing the pressure, and then you can look for the invade after that.
That's the key. A lot of times we don't even see people searching for that purple buff. It's about the 2 little guys next to him that will just provide the experience, and then, like you said, a little bit of a lead turns into a rather large one. This is one of the fun things about Season 4, though, in my eyes. There are a lot of different starts for the different teams. You can see here Team Dignitas' jungler starting in the mid lane and Cyclone's jungler starting in the solo. That's going to give pressure over there to the mid lane on the side of Team Dig, and that's going to allow them to pick up the enemy speed. And right there, that's the play we're talking about.
Going for the easy level 2. It's a very safe invade on the left-hand side, relatively risky invade on the right, going for the speed. You're so far overextended, but because of the lane pressure that they had, they're able to make a very calculated play, and grabbing the speed buff away, Ice's able to pick up his own speed buff, because now we see the rotation coming out of Team Dignitas. After the speed buff, they go back to the mid wave, grabbing the red buff, and as well as the purple buff from the dual lane.
Right, this is all about the communication here coming out from Team Dignitas. Say that, okay, Nemesis is in, so that sends Cyclone's jungler down south to hit the counter invade. But since Team Dignitas got that oh-so-important dual lane pressure that we mentioned earlier, they were able to get level 2 off of those little guys, and then once the jungler can coalesce with the left side of the map, then you see the strip down of the enemy jungle.
It's all about the aggression and then the counter-aggression, because from what we're seeing so far out of CycloneGG, they've responded to this relatively decently, because they invaded the speed, they took away the blue as well away from Variety, and now they've taken both of the back right and the left-hand side, so they're not faltering too much. In fact, they're actually ahead a little bit of gold.
These oracles right here are probably going to be the bigger problem for Cyclone, in that they've done a great job of playing the counterweight to Team Dignitas. Team Dignitas are being very aggressive, and everywhere that Team Dig go, Cyclone go to the opposite side, and that's why they're staying even. But those oracles right there on the left side by the Gold's Fury, Tolly, that's a pretty large objective that Dignitas was able to take without any contestation, and that's an issue.
Unfortunately for Vote at this point in time, as a level 3 Uller, you can't really outclear this Rom Fafnir combination up until your abilities get a little bit higher level once you finish off that Transcendence, and then you can easily full clear and then look for the boxing exchanges, whereas the Rom is going to have to fire a couple of arrows before he can fully clear the wave. We're going to see Trixtank still sitting in the lane here along with Kalis. Not too much action between these two teams, still really looking to find their footing of what they want to do on the jungle.
So this is actually a very greedy build here coming out from the Uller here, as the fight over the Kremlins will go the way of Cyclone, it seems. Uller starting out with not the Transcendence, but the Bluestone on top of it. That's going to be almost 2,000 gold to finish off that Transcendence. How do you feel about that start?
It's interesting to see the Bluestone right off the bat when Uller wants to try to spam as much as possible. Now, Uller is going to have a little bit of MP5 from that Bluestone, which is going to help him sit in that laning phase. But like you mentioned before, to finish off Transcendence a little bit later, especially in a game where you have to be sitting in lane getting those stacks anyway, that extra about 2 or 3 minutes to finish off that tier 3 could be the difference of maybe a power play for Team Dignitas to find the Gold Fury later on.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. One of the bigger changes, or perhaps one of the quieter changes in Season 4. I think everybody's well aware of the jungle and some of the other changes to the game that are perhaps a little bit more prevalent. But Gold Fury actually saw its early gold reward boosted. So these teams that do choose to go for the early objective on the left side of the map will be rewarded a little bit more.
Like you mentioned before, Gold Fury has been boosted to the point where you will now get about 150 gold right off the start. Now, you still have the maximum gold reward, which is going to be 350 gold at 25 minutes, but in between is where it shifts.
Per player you're talking, of course. Big stun in the middle lane, no follow-up, however, not many players there. Roddy's just going to kind of deal with Deathwalker here in the solo lane. Nothing. So once Deathwalker goes into that ground pound, he can't get hit by the Fearless. It's kind of just a back and forth in this lane.
Absolutely. This is why we see the Cabrakan in the solo lane. They're just wanting to find the exchanges and the boxing opportunity. And by going a magical god in the solo lane, it's going to put Variety in a position where he has to try to figure out that balance between the physical and the magical defense. And at this point, it's looking like he's still waiting to see what he wants to build offensively, because Breastplate of Valor is really solid for tier for the cooldown reductions. And despite being against the Cabrakan, that would still be a decent choice here, trying to survive against any Ratatasker gank.
Cute play by Trickstank to get away from the enemy. Runs away from 2 into the opponent, but has the hammer available, so able to get the stun off right quick. Unlike this game, a little bit of a slow start for very exciting when we saw relegation. And here's the change. Arkle gets jumped on by the jungler. Ice Ice Baby trying to find the follow-up onto the support. Not going to be able to. And the meditation out of Trickstank will bring both players back up to about 75% HP. Really no harm, no foul there. But if you're Cyclone, you're definitely thinking about that jungle ultimate being down.
Cyclone was looking like they were about to collapse on their red buff because of the pressure that they had in mid lane. They were electing to go into the jungle and drop that ward by the left side mid Harpies.
I love the timing coming out from the Cyclone gank as well, because as I said, that winds up being kind of a loss, if not a wash. You trade the ultimate for the meditation, but that actually winds up being a win. So Ice Ice Baby goes ahead and goes for the gank at the same time the oracles are up. If you get a kill there, that's icing on the cake. But at the end of the day, you're creating the space for your team to take those oracles by the Gold Fury.
And that's also going to allow Vote to get in a position to start finishing off that Transcendence, and electing to still hold off onto that because going for the Warrior Tabby. He wants to be able to match the mobility of Rama. He doesn't want to get caught out of position and then get chased down. And even if you do poke out Arkle over here, you're not going to be able to chase him down if you don't have boots, obviously. So now, going to delay his power spike, but at the end of the day, as long as he has pressure from Ice Ice Baby, it's all fine and dandy.
Also, the fact of the matter, the jungler on the other side is going to be a Nemesis, whose main way of getting you is slowing you. So having any amount of movement speed above the Nemesis or above the opposition is going to be the strong look. So that's why you see the boots go first, even though we already lamented how greedy this Transcendence build is really going to be.
And speaking of a little bit of greed, I like the fact that Cyclone is greedy enough to go for these Aegises on both Wolfie and to Vote, recognizing the fact that obviously their tier is not going to be a factor in the early game, so they can wait until getting up the purification beats at level 12. Having that Aegis now is going to keep them alive against Zeros.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the Thoth guy has the stun, of course, but realistically, what you're afraid of Thoth for is going to be the large burst. Nemesis has no hard CC. Tier, like you said, is on the other side of the map, and the Fafnir stun, you're going to really want to avoid the follow-up damage more than the actual crowd control in the early game. I do not mind the early Aegises, and I actually applaud it. And yes, we're saying Aegis, one of the bigger changes for the fans, at least at home. Sanctuary is now renamed back to the classic Aegis, so although nobody's going to yell at you if you call it either.
7 minutes into the game, both junglers still grabbing their own speed buffs, yet without any single kills quite yet. Still feeling each other out. It's the first set, the first game of the SPL. Neither team really wanting to make a huge mistake at this point. Every game is so important. It's a 7-week-long season. If you get the 2-0 in this 2-game set, you're going to walk away with 3 points, and you got to get closer and closer to get to the LAN at the end of the season.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I think that with the opening game here, Cyclone and Dignitas both really have a little bit to prove. Team Dignitas has to go, all right, look, Team Dig left their old roster of Shadow Nightmare to acquire this team. We have to prove that we were worth it. And then across the way, Cyclone is saying, hey, we beat relegation, we're here, we're still in the league, and Arkles is still in trouble. Gonna fire off 3 shots right quick, not very accurate on any of them. but the time he spent in the air was enough time for his teammates to shift over, and that'll send Cyclone back into lane.
Calculated play coming out of Arco, electing to use his ultimate instead of the Purification Beads, as that's going to be a shorter cooldown and very well timed, but this is going to leave a small window for Cyclone just to pick up those mid Harpies there, or the Oracles rather, getting the little bit of vision, but now it's a little bit of trouble for Varieties. He's getting out-traded at this point, not finishing off his magical defense quite yet.
Yeah, he'll be able to heal up in this lane. It shouldn't be too much of an issue for Variety here, though he trails by about half a level over there in the solo lane. When it comes down to it, Cyclone make the same play again. As soon as the Oracles come up, you see the gank from Ice on the left side, forcing the duo lane, or at least just the Hunter, out of position to allow his team to go ahead and get those Oracles. The Oracles, if you didn't get to watch any of Relegation, those two minions by the Gold Fury are actually going to give you free vision. So it gets you a free ward by the Gold Fury, as well as being, you know, a decent jungle cam to clear. So Cyclone prioritizing those by way of jungle ganks. I love the strategy coming out from them, Tully.
As long as you're able to get both of them. There are some situations where if a team contested, it can strip away one of them, and therefore neither team will get the vision. So it's a very highly contested objective in the early game. And if you look at the flip side, the Fire Giant Elementals was also switched up a little bit to add almost like a little bit of a mini boss along the way, making it a little bit more easier to run certain soul laners.
Yeah, the Gremlins on the other side got a big daddy, so it's going to be similar to like a regular old buff camp that doesn't happen to drop a buff. And then, of course, post 10 minutes, which we're approaching, that will turn into a Portal Demon. You kill him, and you get a little way to a little shortcut back to the Fire Giant pit by way of a portal that spawns right there. So a couple of changes to the map in general, but all in all, what we've seen as far as the Season 4 quote-unquote meta has been a lot of different stuff. Variance is what we're seeing, which is a lot of fun. No team is really sticking to the same thing over and over again.
In Relegations, we saw a lot of proxy farming between Tier 1, Tier 2. We even saw a lot of proxy farming between the Tier 2 and the Phoenix at level 1. Some died earlier than others might have wanted, but either way, sometimes it's been really successful because the momentum you get from proxy farming into the invades can translate to your team really snowballing the game. But we haven't seen it this game, which is why we see 10.5 minutes in, still a very close game, being separated by 50 gold.
So close game on the board, in numbers, on paper. But I actually feel the complete opposite. Team Dignitas are in control of this game, pretty much. Cyclone going to go ahead and make the charge over on the left-hand side. Trickstank uses the immunity frames. Flipped up, there's the combo. Whirlpool, Kraken, and Wolfie with the first kill of the Season 4 SPL is going to be on Cyclone. It's 1-0.
Great play overall, but now it's going to be Deathwalker in trouble on the opposite side. Firegiant has been leashed, trying to bait and kite around, but unfortunately gets hit by that knockup. And it's going to be Cyclone, though, taking advantage of the two-man gank on the right, starting up the Gold Fury.
Arco's going to go for the shots. Will be leashed.
They're scared of Zeros. He was charging up his ultimate. Variety going to get plucked, trying to disrupt into the backline. Ice Baby forced to dash away. The snipes coming out. Arco 1-2 connects, as well as Saros finding that last hit. This is going to give enough of a window for Team Dignitas to start up this Gold Fury.
Yeah, the minions are going to go down, and then the Gold Fury will be absolutely next. Great play by Zeros, and this is exactly what I was going to mention when I said that Team Dignitas has control of the game, in the sense that on paper the gold was very similar before this objective goes down. Variety zoning 2, Sobek dashes away. When it comes down to it, Team Dignitas want a slow-paced early game. Look at them. They have a Nemesis and a Thoth and a Rob. These guys are rooting for the late game, whereas across the way on Cyclone, they need to come into themselves a little bit earlier. This is a mid-game lineup coming out from Cyclone, so if nothing is happening, Dignitas is happy.
The timing was very efficient for Team Dignitas to force that fight, because the fact that we see Variety finish off the Spirit's Robe, so he has both the magical and the physical defense. He's able to mitigate a lot of damage after the CCs, and the fact that we saw earlier on that the Purification wasn't picked up right off the bat for Vote and Wolfie means that they didn't really have it ready at that point in time. It wasn't even used during that combat. And the pick onto Deathwalker on the right side means that there was nobody to really be that buffer, that frontline buffer to help Cyclone in the backline. So Variety was just uncontested once he dove in.
3 players from Cyclone just to clear the buff. This is Variety looming in the background. A little bit of a threat there. Team Dignitas pick up the Gold Fury, and because of that, leading by about 1,500 gold. And the Portal Demon is going to be next. This one is looking to belong to Cyclone. Kala's tanking, half HP. Here comes Variety over the top. Objective is going to be leashed. Cyclone make the smart play and just walk away.
Great disengage, because the fact that they went underneath the Lawbringer towards the Soul Lane, recognizing Variety was coming from the right, going to the left, so they're going to go from the left to the right. Also, negating 2 ultimates. This gives Cyclone a little bit of an advantage now in the next team fight for about 60 seconds or so, but it looks like they don't really want to keep pressing on. They want to grab their buffs first, look for the item spikes that they really need to. We see Ratatasker working on that Hydra's Lament at this point in time, having 3 starter items: Bummer's Mask, Mark of the Vanguard, and the Bluestone Pendant. Very mid-game build oriented.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is, like I said, this is a mid-game squad. Now, just so you know, seeing the Bummer's Mask and 1 starter item, not surprised. Bummer's got a reduction in price, so you can pair it with Death Toll and Bluestone Pendant. Expect to see that. But the follow-up Mark of the Vanguard, that's what's curious, and that's why Tolly's bringing it up. This team, like I said, they need to be effective right now. Thoth and Nemesis are going to get out of control. Collis or Deathwalker is going to get looked at by Kivo Fred and then absolutely melted by the rest of the squad. So Cyclone need to find something happening now, which is why for the second time they're going to at least flirt with the Portal Demon.
But that's great vision coming out of Team Dignitas, seeing the rotation out of CycloneGG. They're not going to allow this objective to go for free. So they're put pressure to the point where now with the mid-waves touching, it's going to have to be a collapse onto that point in time. You can't really let a mid-wave go under your tower, even at the 14.5-minute mark, because it's still very easy for Zeros to rotate mid, clear the mid-wave, and then use his ultimate to steal away that Portal Demon.
Yeah, it's a big deal. The fact that Thoth's ultimate goes so far. Left side Oracle's taken by Team Dignitas. No gank coming out from Cyclone this time because they're preoccupied on the right side looking for the Portal Demon, and they get it for free. No contest coming out from Team Dignitas on that one. That's going to shorten the lead up by just a little bit. You can see teams separated by about 1,000 or so, give or take. 1,100, thank you very much.
That was great zoning coming out of Callis there. He wasn't allowing the vision from Zeros. There was a great zoning tool after the mid-waves. It seemed that everybody from Dignitas sort of forgot about the Portal Demon.
Exactly.
And obviously Zeros can't go in there by himself. He needs some frontliner to give him that space to freely cast his ultimate uninterrupted. Obviously, the pluck and the tail will interrupt the ultimate coming out of Zeros, so not going to be an opportunity to steal away that one.
Yeah, Team Dignitas, we're so in tune. They looked for the first one, they said, all right, you're definitely not getting the Portal Demon. They looked at the second attempt, they said, you're definitely not getting the Portal Demon. And then they didn't really look at the third attempt.
The thing about this Portal Demon, though, is sometimes it's also a bait opportunity for the enemy team to be able to sit outside and wait for your team to just go through the portal. But Variety's not waiting at all. He's going to double Blink Fearless.
And he's going to grab 2, sending Rat to the sky, looking for a little bit more. Is going to be Rat. Re-engage! Gets the stun on Variety. Nice little passive from Tier. Is going to save him for the moment, but the rotation out of Wolfie going to scare Team Dignitas just a little bit. Trickstank still wants some, and that's the way we've come to know this player.
Variety taking no damage whatsoever from Ice Ice Baby, having the Spirit Orb and the Breastplate of Valor from this Ratatasker that's level 13, finishing the Hydra's Lament, just not enough at this point. Deathwalker trying to defend his tier 1 tower. Got Variety doing a great job zoning away Ice Ice Baby.
Trickstank still with the mind of the objective. Nice ultimate out of Kivo Fred onto Wolfie. Wrap around onto the top from Variety as he escapes the rest of Cyclone, and Cyclone has to respond to Team Dignitas' jungler. Excellent communication and a great play coming out from Dig to save their
During
solo.
that whole time, though, Zeros was able to split push in the mid lane, finding that tier 1 mid tower, but now Variety being plucked away, keeping Ice Ice Baby alive for a little bit longer. It seems that Team Dignitas has the space that they need with these rotations to maybe contest a speed buff.
You know, when you see these power teams, these superstar teams, if you will, a lot of times what happens is you get a lot of raw mechanical talent and there's a lack of leadership or a lack of communication, if not both. Synergy among superstars can be troublesome at time to time, but Team Dignitas aren't really showing any of that. Zeros was, of course, the coach for Energy last year when they won the World Championship and a couple of lands before that, so he's certainly used to being in the leader role. And then when you look at the way Kivo Fred just worked with Variety, I loved it. It was fantastic.
We see the goal here being started by Cyclone, the Kraken coming out, but the nice reset. Dignitas, they're still trying to go in. Deathwalker finds Kivo Fred.
Collis is very low. Pops the meditation. He's immediately taken back down. Not dead just yet. Guardian on the backside is controlled by the jungler. Very low is going to be the Sobek. He's going to get out there. Left side is totally fine. Sobek is out of control. Trickstank, on the other hand, still finds an exit. Hops over the player. And Zero's still looking for the damage. No kills in that exchange outside of Cuvo Fred. Team Dignitas lose their jungler for the next 20 seconds. Cyclone evened it up 2-2, but still trail 3,000
That
gold.
was still a great play out of Team Dignitas. Despite losing Cuvo Fred, they forced a reset out of the Gold Fury. The Kraken coming out of Wolfie was just miscommunicated. He thought that he was going to be able to secure that objective, and that would have put a lot of gold under Cyclone's bank, completely tied the game up. And unfortunately for Wolfie and his crew, they just dropped the ball on that one.
Yeah, it was. I'm sitting here talking about how good the communication is on brand new Team Dignitas, and yet year-long plus veteran team Cyclone had a little trouble there. That's certainly not going to be a good look for Cyclone going into the future. Gold Fury restarted here by the guys on Cyclone. Sobek playing a little bit of zone, but Trix and Arkle are here well enough in advance for Cyclone to walk away.
Everybody's just flirting around with his gold here. We even see the teleport coming out of Variety on the left side mid-Harpies, thinking that it was about to continue the process, but left-hand side, both supports are around the corner. Could see a little bit of action onto Callus, but instead missing the stun, so not going to see any follow-up coming out of Arkle.
So now we finally see the Transcendence come online, a number of stacks, and he's going to pair it with a Chin Sai. This is a very interesting build. We'll discuss it in a moment as Cyclone start the Gold Fury one more time. About 60% HP on the objective. Thoughts shooting through the wall is going to send Cyclone packing and will again leash the Gold Fury. Arkle, meanwhile, takes out the zoning Collis, no problem. Fight continuing on. Arkle takes to the sky, looking for the shots. Sanctuary is good on Ice Baby, enough to save his life. He's underneath the tower. Ice going to go ahead and ult to safety, not aggressively. Cyclone started the Gold Fury one more time and leashed it. Team Dig chases them away. This one's going to be easy peasy. And what could have been the game-tying Gold Fury for Cyclone turned into the lead extending Gold Fury. 4,300 gold in the lead for the black and yellow.
Callus was just left alone there. His rotation underneath the Gold Fury was a little bit too ambitious, wanting to get there as quickly as possible, but he got caught out of position. He was forced to go into his ultimate, but Arkle is at a point in time at the 20-minute mark where he will absolutely melt this level 13 Sobek. Doesn't even have that much physical defense online, as he went for the Heartward Amulet before the Sovereignty, so getting melted completely, and then the fact that Ice Baby was zoned out under the tier 2 tower, that was a 5-on-3 advantage technically for Team Dignitas to allow themselves to get that second Gold Fury.
Yeah, it's just a problem for Cyclone at this point, trailing by this much, 4,000 at this point in the game. Team Dignitas, like I said, this is now their game to steer off course. Everything that they've done right now is put themselves in a position to win, and if you're asking me, they're set up to win. Cyclone need to force them to make some mistakes, and I think that's going to come on the back of Ice Baby, the jungler right there. He's had some good plays on the left side of the map, totally, none of which resulted in kills, but resulted in these smaller objectives. And that's all well and good for the early game. But now that the mid and the late game are here, Ice has to really set up Wolfie for some successful, real kills.
This is the whole point that you picked the Ratatasker for the global pressure. Now, he is a little bit behind Ice Baby, level 14 to 17 onto Cuvo Fred. But he could still find the setups, like you mentioned, to help Wolfie find those Krakens, whether or not he uses his ultimate or just for the Acorn stun. That's going to be two options. Portal Demon being started by Team Dignitas is going to get a reset. Dash pluck onto Cuvo Fred. Nemesis ultimate onto Callus. Yet again, he's in a little bit of trouble. The snipe's coming out, finding the first one, missing the second and the third.
And Arkle's not going to be able to find the kill just yet. Still, finds it after the fact with the easy basic. Deathwalker pounded the ground and trying to get Trickstag into some trouble. Zero's answers back. It's number 5 for Team Dignitas. Not done yet and won't go without a fight. Vote answers back. Cyclone gets one. It's 2-1 as right now the players disengage. 2 players fall with Cyclone on their chests, and Team Dignitas only lose their solo later. They're going to go ahead and start with Portal Demon. No response coming out from Cyclone. You'll see the Poseidon walk up, and honestly, from the backside, here comes Deathwalker. Zeros takes care of Wolfie, and Deathwalker down B's Arkle into the ground. Portal Demon is reset, and here comes Nemesis. Deathwalker in some trouble, but honestly, totally, he's done the job.
Absolutely. He stopped the Portal Demon. He found the kill onto Arkle. It was a great teleport on the right side mid-Harpies. They're not done yet, though. With the pressure that Cyclone has, they're the ones that are about to start up this Portal Demon came in, and like we mentioned before, Zeros on this Toth, that final judgment onto Ice Baby, it was only level 17 Toth at that time. It did almost 900 damage. Once he gets level 20, once he finishes off his build, that's going to be in the 4-digit column very easily.
So that play that Wolfie made over there, over by the objective, over by the portal deep, Wolfie plays very aggressively on the Poseidon. Kalas getting controlled a little bit. What looked like not a big deal might turn into one. The dash is strong, but the slow out of Nemesis might be enough. Ultimate for her is going to be down, but just not needed. Variety hits the power cleave and takes out the support. Ice trying to decide aggressive or defensive. Well, his hesitation costs him dearly and can't catch up to the guys on Team Dignitas. So no knockup or setup there.
Kalas just getting wrecked yet again, his 3rd death in a row. In the past 4 minutes or so, he's been constantly bullied out, finally finishing off his sovereignty. But like we mentioned before, the whole strategy out of Team Dignitas is offense. With Fred playing this Nemesis, they target whichever Guardian is least tanky, and at this point it's definitely Kalas not really having the health that he needs to survive these engagements, and once his ultimate is down, not having that anti-movement speed, this is going to be a good opportunity for Team Dignitas to collapse off of Fred's ultimate.
And 5k is the mark of the lead for Team Dignitas. 5k is a nice lead to start letting you know that you can start being the bully. Once you have 2,000 or 3,000 gold, that means you've got a little bit of a lead to go ahead and start to find some of the objectives. Once you're looking at 5,000 to 6,000, you're really able to take control of a match.
At this point, Cyclone is going to have to figure out ways to adapt to Fred's aggression. I don't want to see Kalas being in the front line any longer because he's just constantly getting targeted. Instead, he's going to need to sit in the back and look for the peels to make sure Variety is not going to have an easy time fearlessing any targets. Deathwalker is going to have to be that front line guy just to find off the ultimate wall onto either Zeros or even Fred, or maybe even Arkle.
Good purification coming out of Arkle to avoid one flip, not the stun. Half HP for the Rom, takes to the sky. Going to be trapped in front by Deathwalker when he comes down. Waiting is going to be a whole slew of ultimates, and Arkle goes down to the hand of Kalas. Early shot coming out of Wolfie. Ultimate out of the jungler on the side of Cyclone. Good control too. Knockup is good. Double fearless coming out of Variety. Mounted up to get the kill. Looking for the kill out of Wolfie. There it is. The fearless into the power cleave, and Variety gets one.
That's going to be a 4-on-4 as the rest of Team Dignitas want to keep pressure with Trixtank in his ultimate form. Variety's going to blink. Double fearless yet again, finding the kill onto Kalas is Zeros. Variety taking an Ice Baby. Deathwalker trying to zone from the tier 2 tower, finding the stun out to Trixtank. It's not enough damage though. He finds the in-hand, and it's overall going to be a 3-on-2 now as Cyclone putting pressure back.
Variety did a fantastic job in that game, in that team fight, looking for different amounts of control. 2, 3 separate players, sometimes grabbing them in the same move. But the problem was him in his aggression and the rest of the teammates on Team Dignitas in an effort to support him wind up taking too much damage. Fighting underneath the tower and the combination of Wolfie and Kalas's big AoE ultimates really wreaked havoc on Team Dignitas. And Cyclone, honestly, that's a 2-for-1 exchange. Cyclone, in my opinion, kind of win out on that one.
Absolutely. This is what happens when Cyclone is the one to put pressure first. Instead of Kalas being targeted, this time it was actually Arkle that got focused by Ice Baby. And then once he went into the sky, Deathwalker found the ultimate, keeping his mobility in check, and the Kraken was just waiting for him as he was down. Team Dignitas, though, they're not going to hesitate starting up this Fire Giant. It's already less than 25%.
See, that's the thing, Anatoly. The team might have been on top for Cyclone in the sense that they had more HP, but there was just more bodies on the field for Team Dignitas, able to back and return to the objective. FG goes down to the side of Team Dignitas, and what was once a small lead is now expanded into a 6,000 gold plus a Fire Giant lead. And look at that experience as well.
And with a 6,000 gold lead, with these 4 towers still remaining for Cyclone, that's going to extend to 11,000 if they basically utilize this Fire Giant effectively enough. And then not to mention this Gold Fury that they got, this 3rd one of the game, is going to extend it even further.
27 on the clock exactly. Team Dignitas leading by about 4 kills, excuse me. Cyclone trailing by a bunch of gold as well after that last objective, over the 8,000 gold mark. Team Dignitas now looking to shift into their closing phase, let's say. We saw the early phase for Team Dig, which was a bunch of do nothing. We have late game characters, let's just do nothing and hope Cyclone does the same. And much to Cyclone and their fans' chagrin, they didn't actually get the tempo out of Ice Baby's Ratatasker that they actually wanted.
They tried several times to go into Arco, but a great defensive measure, using the beads the first time around, using his ultimate the second time around. It didn't put Vote in a position to out-carry or out-snowball Arco, which is why we see now in the late game form the composition out of Team Dignitas between
nice stun.
the Fafnir attacks. Ooh, a lot of damage taken out of Vote. Not going to be able to really defend the Ice Baby. Going to land onto 2, forcing the purification out of Arco, but now he's forced into the Aegis.
Yeah, the aggressive initiation coming out from Cyclone. That seems to be their entire jam. 1 shot out of 3 so far, and it's just going to be that. Not going to be able to do a big of a good job. Deathwalker comes through and does big of a good job by ulting the backside. Here comes more additional variety players. The ultimate out of Wolfie completely off the mark. It's going to give Team Dignitas a bunch of space to take down the tower. And they're going to rotate and not look for the Phoenix just yet, but look for the mid tower.
I'm surprised Cyclone even tried to defend that tier 2 tower in the first place. Vote was caught out of position, which forced Ice Baby to go into his ultimate to bail him out. And without that Ratatasker ultimate, that's going to make it very troublesome. Not to mention the Kraken that was just used to peel away Variety from finding a Fearless.
Yeah, it's a little bit rough right now for Cyclone. I don't think it's out of the picture for them to come back, but they have to have some sort of... I haven't seen a strong thought about play just yet. A lot of it has just been response to what Team Dignitas is doing, and you're not going to win. You're not going to win by simply responding. Vote does wind up getting a kill there, but that's 1 death in exchange for 3 tier 2 towers. That's 3,500 gold. I mean, or that's 4,500 gold. It's just not a strong look.
12,500 gold in the lead is Team Dignitas, and Variety was zoning away from that tier 2 tower. Well, not really necessarily worth it at this point. Could have just elected to play it slow and safe, but at this point there's such a commanding lead that there's nothing for Cyclone to take away in this 5-on-4 advantage for the next 25 seconds with Variety being dead here. Fire Giant's taken away, Gold Fury's being taken away. They could go for the Portal Demon, but that's not that much gold to really bank off of.
Yeah, no, you're looking for the map control that it gives you really. Big initiation. Vote's as good as gone if somebody can find the back line, and it won't be Arkle. Can't find those long-range snipes, just doesn't have the accuracy for it today, but he can find the close-up shots. Trickstang gets the last hit off the assist from the Hunter. Ice Baby falls down for the count. Deathwalker, now the target. Cubo and Arkle looking for it. Last hit's gonna go to one of them, and it'll be Cubo. Credit to the jungler, that's number 2 for him. Kala's now in trouble, gets stunned out by Trix, jumped on as well, but the team is not there. The team is walking around and looking for something else.
There's a lot of gold in hand onto Team Dignitas after finding all that. Look at that. Trickstang with 3,500 gold. Arco, 2,300. Cubo Fred, 1,500. So after getting this Portal Demon with Variety respawning, finding 2 kills without Variety.
Yeah.
That's how ahead Team Dignitas is.
And with that Portal Demon, that's going to be a good look as these players are able to go back and spend that gold you were talking about and then come directly back into this mid lane. You can see Trickstang taking the portal. It's actually interesting to note that Arkle on the left side of the map doesn't take the portal. I think he was a little bit of afraid of that okie doke play that you were talking about. The tank can walk on through, but as a squishy hunter, you don't know who's waiting on the other side.
Absolutely. Variety has been around the right side of the map, so it's a little bit of buffer, but you never know who's really on the left-hand side of that Fire Giant. So it's going to be Team Dignitas with their second Fire Giant here that's about to respawn for them. It's for the taking at this point, because with such a convincing lead, 14,000 gold, Cyclone has to be so careful just about leaving their base. You're fighting against almost a 6th item filled team.
Yeah,
whereas
exactly.
you don't even have your 5th item completed yet.
Yeah, Cyclone right now, this is Team Dignitas' play. Any objective they want, they start the fight. And if Cyclone dare to talk to them about it, they'll just die. It's really Team Dignitas, like I said, in the driver's seat here at the moment.
Second Fire Giant of the game, going for Team Dignitas. All the towers are stripped away from Cyclone, so this is the point in time where you're going to be going for the Phoenixes. As long as they play it very safe here, they're going to be able to get them very easily here. We also see the Frenzied Ritual here coming out of Trickstang.
And the rituals are going to be one of the bigger changes in Season 4. 750 gold gives you a one-time use consumable. There's a combat blink, there's a teleport to gods, and then you're seeing the frenzy right here, which should come out soon. And that's going to amplify the damage basically by, I think the technical term is a ton. And you're going to see these players absolutely swing like trucks. Just keep an eye on Trickstang right there for the usage of the little orange icon. And that's when Team Dignitas is going to go Ice Baby makes the initiation, immediately turns tail. Cyclone need to be more cohesive with that initiation.
Not able to really find any follow-up. There was a great peel and zoning coming out of Team Dignitas. Nice use to be able to break out of that Cabrakan ultimate, dashing away under safety. Now the Frenzied Ritual has been popped. Cubo Fred buying a little bit of time with his Aegis Wolf. He's going to get taken out by Variety. Right side Phoenix is falling, and Cubo Fred, though, he sacrificed his life.
So 1-for-1 so far. Jungler for the mid laner. Cyclone right now have to defend. There's the Frenzy pop coming out of Team Dignitas. It's going to absolutely melt the Phoenix. Cyclone couldn't even dream of defending. Now they're looking at a different player. Zero's going to punish them while the Hunter is taking care of the left side Phoenix. Collis takes down Variety, but the solo laner trades his life for a third Phoenix. That's as good as done. Arco takes to the sky, looking for some shots. He's going to be in trouble when he lands, Toli.
Arco just dashed in 1v3. Nowhere to go, no relics to be used in that point. Electing to save his Aegis, recognizing he had no potential to escape. So that was a 2-on-4 in the mid lane coming out of Dignitas that found a 1-for-1 trade while still being able to two-man left-hand push that last remaining Phoenix out of Cyclone. Now, with a 17,000 gold lead, all Phoenixes are down. This is the point where Team Dignitas need to hit the last nail in the coffin.
And that nail in the coffin will be? What's the play? Where do you think Team Dignitas are going to go to convert this into a win?
Straight up the middle. 2.5 minutes until Fireshine respawns. There's no point to really wait because the Phoenixes will have respawned at that point, so you might as well take advantage of all your fire minions coming from every single lane. Once Arco and Variety respawn, that's when the 5-man push coming out of Team Dignitas will more than likely end this game.
Cubo Fred picking up his speed buff one more time here. You can see the Frenzy Ritual coming out from Cyclone, the Guardian. So everybody definitely ready for the defense. We're going to see a last stand come out from Cyclone very soon. That rally, the Frenzy Ritual amplifies so much, 25%, and some extra little added effects as far as your damage is concerned. Just an incredible item that really assists these teams, both in the siege and the defense.
And making it a lot easier for Team Dignitas to really close this one out. The Titan is just so vulnerable. We can see basically an all-in attempt coming out of them.
Absolutely.
As long as they have their Aegises to be able to survive the Kraken coming out of Wolfie, the burst damage is just not quite there compared to Team Dignitas at least. So the fire minions are going to be the crucial factor as Team Dignitas is going for their final push.
For me, it's much less about the damage and much more about the conversation, the cohesiveness with the team. Ice is finding these ultimates by himself, and nobody's really following him up. Team Dignitas spread out amongst 3 lanes. Variety on the left side. You see Arkle and Trickstank in the mid with zeros. Right side is Cubo. Ice takes to the sky. It's the last defense here, poised on the right side of the map. Ice looking to go in. Does he have the teammates with him? Finds a knockup again by himself. There's the Ritual out of Team Dignitas. Maximum damage. Wolfie, Kraken, not so much. Arkle takes to the sky, looking for the kills. Finds one shot. Can't find it. Variety helps out and gets the third for the kill. 15-10 so far. Make that 16. Now the Titan's going to be attacked. Ladies and gentlemen, the first game of your Season 4 SPL goes to Team Dignitas.
They are who we thought they were. Team Dignitas playing so well here. Now, it was a very slow game. We didn't see first blood until like about the 12-minute mark or so.